Good afternoon. For today's topic, we're talking again about Ayurveda. It's been a while since I've talked about Ayurveda. So I thought of a very important topic in Ayurveda, which I really hadn't thought about much till today, actually. But, actually, I hadn't thought about one of the things. Well, I realized one of the things today about it. So I just wanted to share that and go through this topic with everybody who's interested in Ayurveda. So this is going to be a book read, and I'm just going to go through 3 pages. And after the 3 pages, after every topic, I'll try to add a little summary, synthesis, and I'll try to stay focused. All right, so this topic is called Trayopastamba. Let me show you. Trayopastamba, the 3 supporting pillars of the body. Tray means 3. Upstamba. Stamba means a pillar, I believe. Opa. I guess yopa means body and stamba. Okay, anyway. So Trayopastamba, the 3 supporting pillars of the body. According to Ayurveda, the body is built up of 3 biological energy forces, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, which are designed by the combination of 5 elements. That's the ether, air, fire, water, and earth. And these 3, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, I call them either gas, acid or bile, and phlegm or mucus. Gas or wind, bile or yellow bile, or which the second one is pitta, which is yellow bile or acid, and kapha is mucus or phlegm, and vata is also called black bile in classical Western medicine. To keep the body healthy and strong, Ayurveda recommends 3 supporting pillars of the body in the form of diet, sleep, and celibacy. Just as a building requires pillars for its foundations, similarly the 3 supporting pillars, diet, sleep, and celibacy, are important for body maintenance. On the foundation of these 3 pillars, equilibrium of the 3 doshas depends, and this is the basic principle to keep the body balanced and healthy. And if you don't know already, doshas means humors, as per the classical Western concept of humors. It's the same concept as the tridoshas. Only difference is there are 4 humors in classical Western medicine, and there used to be in Ayurveda too. But currently, it's the mainstream understanding is of the 3 doshas. Now, the 3 pillars of healthy living, or the science of living, or basically, the 3 supporting pillars of the body are diet, sleep, and celibacy. But I want to go and tackle it on a deeper philosophical level, because these 3 words are diet, sleep, and celibacy are ahar, which is diet, nidra, which is sleep, and brahmacharya, which is celibacy. So brahmacharya is the word used instead of celibacy, and it's probably closer to chastity, because Ayurveda is not yoga. It's not a religious thing. It's religion being a rules, something to bind you. But Ayurveda is more of a holistic, balance-based lifestyle. So it looks at all the extremes and tells you the balance is the best option. Moderation is the key to success. I'm sure if they do a study on potheads, they'll find that people who smoke weed moderately are healthier than people who abstain completely and people who do it excessively. But that's the same with alcohol, and anything in life. So sex is the same thing. But brahmacharya also means the path of God, or Brahman means God, and Charya means the path, or the how you move through life, your actions and so forth. So brahmacharya, the pathway, or the path of godliness. And then sleep can also mean, pleasures and things that are kind of like baser, considered bad religiously. For example, like Jesus always says that, I'm here to, make the lepers, or cleanse the lepers, and make the lame walk, and make the dead rise. He rose people from the dead, which means he made them more conscious. So that's what I see as brahmacharya as being a consciousness based thing, and nidra is more like a worldly thing of relaxing from that. But maybe I'm wrong on that. It was just a thought I had, but I haven't really thought about it enough, and I shouldn't have shared it. But anyway, so I just thought it was an interesting concept of the fact that how I talked about the male and the female and the child, the principle of the three, or the universal duality from which the third way arises, the child arises. In that same way, I figured like the mother and father is like celibacy and sleep, and then the third way is diet, or what you take in, because that the drive for consciousness and the drive for material happiness are usually contrasting, and between those two extremes, or those two drives of our natural being, we have the third way of diet, which actually means ahar, and ahar vivar in India is kind of, it's not just diet, but it's everything you take in. So it's like what you hear, what you read, where you live, what kind of decorations you have, what clothes you wear. It's all ahar, because everything you take in through the senses, every sense, is part of that. So I count like the air pollution we have, part of that. I count the pesticides in the food, part of that. It's all what you take in. So anyway, that was just an interesting thing. A thought that I had of the three pillars on a deeper level. Hopefully that made sense, because I really didn't think too much about it before spitting it out right now. But yeah, it's just like, the duality, the male and the female, and then the child. So it's like the path to godliness, and then sleep, or material comforts, and then diet, which is like everything you do, consciously. Everything you take in consciously, basically. So yeah, the first pillar is diet, and wow, I already spent 8 minutes just talking about my philosophy, but okay, I guess I don't have to talk much anymore. Ahar. Diet is the main factor. Hold on. Ahar. Diet is the main factor to achieve good health. It is impossible to have good health without a proper diet. Our Upanishads and classic texts state that diet is essential for life. Anna ve prana. Virtually, diet is a medicine in itself. Food replenishes and supports the doshas, dhatus, and malas, which is the humors, the tissues, and the wastes, and stabilizes life. By the knowledge of this science, we can treat many diseases. The effect of food not only lies on the body, but it equally affects the mind. And that's especially true if you know of all the artificial toxins that are present in our food, how much they affect the mind, such as aspartame. There is a famous saying that the food you eat reflects your state of mind. Purity of food ensures purity of mind. Purity of mind ensures steady recollection. When recollection is secured, there will be liberation of all blockages. So just your thought is very important in life, food as a whole and your quality of thought is greatly affected by what you take in, and not just food, right? Like I said, the deeper meaning. Food as a whole regulates the body functions and processes, thereby protecting the body from disease. Hope you can see this. Ceased. Where is that? Okay. It provides the body with fuel and energy. Inevitably, food strengthens the sensory and motor organs, promotes strength and vitality to the life force, and nourishes the proclivity of the mind. So not just fuel and energy, but it also strengthens the sensory and motor organs, promotes strength and vitality to the life force, and nourishes the proclivity of the mind. So if you don't have good food, usually we're not very creative and inclined to the best learning. Anyhow, it provides the material need for growth and upkeep of the body. Even after growth has ceased, the body continues to change throughout life, and constantly worn out tissues need to be changed and repaired. So there was a picture associated with this three-pronged face. So a picture is worth 1,000 words. So the first pillar we see up in the front, or in the top rather. And interestingly, there is the man at the bottom, brahmacharya. And brahmacharya is also a phase of life, from birth through marriage, basically. And it involves the growth period of the human body, and also the growth period of the intellectual abilities through the education system called Gurukula, where brahmacharya or celibacy is a standard practice amongst the pupils. And is a stage, basically, everybody is supposed to be practicing celibacy before marriage for a functional society. And then, okay, so that's the brahmacharya. Then we have the second phase, which is nidra. And then you see the mother there, sitting with the son. I guess he's teaching her everything he learned in the day or something, or yeah, maybe, or reading something to her. And then he's sleeping. Oh yeah, so it's this kid. We see this kid throughout the scene. Alright, so yeah, sleep. So that's the feminine part. And we have the sun right here, somewhere. And then the third part is the ahar, or diet. The synthesis of day and night. As you see, he's indoors in the daytime, but it might be the sunset time. Although it probably looks like the daytime. This looks more like the sunset time. But anyway, let's move on from this little picture rumination and move on to the reading. So we were at our diet. Actually, diet can be beneficial for our health only when we eat for the sake of health rather than taste. Always remember that our life is not meant for food, but food is essential for our life. So the enjoyments of life are not the purpose of life. Well, these things in life that people tend to get addicted to is because they don't realize that they are the master and not the tool of the object, I guess, because they don't have the right mindset when using the object. Anyhow, Vagbhata, a disciple of sage Charak, being questioned by Charak on the subject concerned with health, replied, Hitabhuk, mitabhuk, ritabhuk. This means eat food according to your own constitution hit the book. So appropriate hunger, or no, yeah, I guess. In an appropriate quantity, mitabuk, and earned by right means or sources, which is ritabuk, which makes the food beneficial for health. Otherwise, there is a probability for several diseases to develop. A person who can control his taste can keep good food habits. Sage Charaka had described 8 important facts regarding food intake, which is known as a food directory. Thus, food should be taken according to the prescribed method, keeping in mind these 8 factors. So these are 8 factors that actually affect the quality of a food and what it does to your body. The nature of the food, the properties, the gunas, the processing of the food, the human intention of changing it into something else, action of changing it into something else, or preparing it, basically. Combination, so what it's used with, also makes a difference, as a pharmacist will tell you. It's true for every chemical in the universe. Quantity, how much you take in. Place, or quantity also means dosage. Keep going to drug terminology, but anyway. Because, cannabis, for example, many people have smoked that. And that also involves many of these things. If you think about it. All of these you're doing all of these things when you consume anything. So when you're consuming everything, you have to keep these things in mind and try to be mindful of them. So place, what location you're in, the time of the taking it, and then dietary rules and one's own constitution, right? So some basic dietary rules and your body type and your state at that point. So by following these factors, this supporting pillar of diet becomes stable, but otherwise it gets disturbed and shattered. All right, so when you follow these things, you can help have a good diet. But if you don't follow pay attention and take care, then it can get disturbed. So Sage Charak also stated that food is vital for living beings. That is why people rush to it. One's complexion, cheerfulness, lifespan, appearance, intelligence, contentment, desires, nourishment, corpulence, strength, power, and intellect all depend upon food. So one's complexion, cheerfulness, lifespan, voice, appearance, intelligence, contentment, desires, nourishment, corpulence, and I have to look that up, but strength, power, and intellect all depend upon food. All right. So next we have nidra, sleep. So if you notice, even mental things can have an effect on your appearance, voice, intelligence, contentment. Whatever you take in mentally can also affect these things, is what I'm saying. So make sure you don't spend too much time on social media and in front of a screen. That's my problem right now. And that's a bad thing. Better read books, like the homie said. Alright, when one's body and mind are... Okay, the second important supporting pillar is sleep. After a whole day's routine, When one's body and mind are completely tired, the sensory and motor organs become relaxed. Then one goes to sleep. By means of sleep, the body and mind get rest, which compensates the loss during activities. Sleep is invaluable. When one falls asleep, all the lax and inactive sensory and motor organs, along with the mind, get refreshed and energetic. To hasten the development of a child's physical and mental growth, God arranged the cycle of sleep for 18 to 20 hours. Pay attention to this, because how much sleep kids need is very important, and we're not giving kids enough sleep in our society. We like to call them kids until they're 18, but we seem to think that only toddlers deserve physical care. To their desired extent. So God arranged a cycle of sleep for 18 to 20 hours and 24 hours among infants, while for a healthy adult, 6 to 8 hours of sleep in 24 hours is essential and sufficient. So adult, I believe, is at the age of either 21 or 14, but from the infancy all the way until they're 15 or so, kids need a lot more sleep than adults do, and I don't think they're getting that after middle school at least. I believe it was something like 10 to 12 hours for like quite old kids, like 10 or 12-year-old kids. So I don't think they're getting that, but maybe they are. I don't know. It's been a while since I was a kid or had any to take care of like that. But anyway, a sound sleep at a proper time brings cheerfulness, strength, vitality, longevity, and wisdom. So we all notice how our mind works much better, and we have a better mood when we have better sleep. Even vitality and strength of the body. On the contrary, improper sleep results in debility, feebleness, infertility, a sluggish brain, sorrow, and petulance. Now, petulance is like childish bad temper, I think, but or maybe just oppositional defiant disorder, something like that. Sorrow and petulance, a sluggish brain, infertility. Wow, intense. To sleep early and to wake up early is beneficial for good health. So anyway, let me test my theory, because if you get too red-pilled, right? Which red pill is kind of like a term for in the Matrix, where you try to look at world as it really is and take in the pain that comes with it. So if you do that too much, just like they did in that movie They Live, that's not a good thing, right? Like he said in the movie, it's like it feels like a knife boring into your skull when you do too much of this intellectual and spiritual work. Sleep is also important. I guess that's why. Anyway, but I don't want to go there right now. But if you try to, ignorance is bliss. You'll have these things like cheerfulness, more strength, vitality, longevity, and wisdom. Well, maybe longevity and vitality, perhaps. I don't know. Depression does come with the red pill, right? Part of the stages of loss. Cheerfulness, strength. Yeah, cheerfulness, definitely, Everything is awesome. Strength, yep. On the contrary, so too much of that red pilling yourself results in debility, feebleness, infertility, some MGTOW, right? Or feebleness is like that kind of like a monk, right? MGTOW monk, F the world. A sluggish brain. You get a headache after you study things too hard. So I guess it could be true. My theory could be true. Sorrow, yeah, definitely, right? Petulance, anger, red pill rage. Oh wow, okay. Well, I guess everything is everything, right? So let's keep going. To sleep early and to wake up early is beneficial for good health. This has been an eternal part of our Indian culture. It has been quoted that Brahma Muhurate Buddhyeta Purushto Rakshartha Amayusha. Rakshartha Mayusha. And in English, it is well said that early to bed and early to rise makes the person healthy, wealthy, and wise. Today, with a materialistic and pleasure seeking lifestyle, this has changed a lot. Sleeping late at night and rising late in the morning has become a general trend. This is very harmful and can deteriorate the mind and body. There's another practice Ayurveda recommends is waking up at before the sunrise. So in that, wow, I wish I could quote Hamlet because they had a nice little saying about the early morning hour in Christmas time, which is supposed to be the holiest time of all the year. And that's what the Hindus believe too. Brahma Muhurat is God's time. And it's represented by the color purple because that's what the sun makes before it starts to get up there. All right, so in this context, one must also remember that while on one hand insomnia or less sleep is harmful for health, on the other hand, excessive sleep also causes lethargy, indolence, kapha vitiation, obesity, loss of appetite, indigestion, and several disorders. So all these conditions can be caused by excessive sleep. So kapha obviously gets out of control when you sleep too much. That's why you gotta get out of bed. I think, if you remember the daily dincharya, the daily routine, the first step you do basically is after waking up is you wash the face, and you wash your hands and face and mouth, and that basically prevents you from getting caught in the trap of the kapha or the phlegm humor, which wants you to stay put and static because that's its quality, and all these qualities go with it: lethargy, indolence. And indolence means like rudeness, I think. It's a real epidemic in America today. Obesity, loss of appetite, indigestion, and several disorders, right? What is IBS? Yeah. Wow, I guess it's a male PMS or something. But anyway, these are the different. These are the different organs, basically the 8 organs or the 7 organs, Saptadhatu. Yeah, the 7 different organs, and how nutrients are transformed. It goes from the plasma to the blood to the and this might just be chyme to the blood, to the muscle, and then to the fats, and then to the bone marrow, then to the brain, and then to the semen, or the egg, I guess, or the womb, whichever it is. So that's why I believe that eggs are a really good food, and all that hysteria about eggs and cholesterol, which is not even biochemically relevant, is nonsense. Because I believe the propaganda is there because eggs are a cheap food, and people haven't yet realized that it's one of the hardest things to put nasty chemicals into, like you can spray vegetables with pesticides, and they do that to keep it fresh, but eggs, even if you spray it, it's kind of like protected, so it does have that advantage. And also, it is the 8th tissue, according to Ayurveda, the last and the final refinement of all the tissues. And therefore, because it takes the most work to make it, therefore it is like purer, And it makes sense because humans really protect their offspring, and therefore, psychologically, and even our bodies naturally are made to protect our offspring very well. So it makes sense to me why eggs would be healthy in that regard, because it would be harder to, toxify it as much as the chicken meat, and because by its food and air and so forth. So that's just my theory, and I think it's true. But and eggs are cheap too. Perfect protein. Another thing that's slandered a lot nowadays. But yeah, let's go to brahmacharya or celibacy. So brahmacharya doesn't just mean celibacy, it means the path of godliness. Like I said, it's one of the 4 stages of life, according to the Vedas. The first stage being brahmacharya, the second stage being married life, the third stage being vanaprastha or forest life, retirement basically, because the second phase of life is in the cities or in the dwellings, the packed apartment-style dwellings of ancient India, Harappa. But so the third phase is called vanaprastha, and that's when you're kind of not so much worldly, you're trying to get away from the world and enjoy your life, but not just enjoy your life, but also move in a different direction. And then the last 4th phase of life, 3rd phase of life, I believe, is at age 50 or something, but I might be wrong. 4th phase of life is like 75 or something onwards, but I might be wrong on that. But the 4th phase of life is called sannyas, or which is called sannyas, which means sannyas, union with God, I guess, where you're basically going towards moksha and enlightenment, and it involves basically celibacy is one of the, again, just like in the first phase of life. In the 4th phase of life, celibacy is also a recommendation. And sannyas is basically when a person takes on the spiritual duties of service to society, and they give up all material things, because that's what they were doing in the 3rd phase of forest dwelling. But after forest dwelling, then they come out of the forest and come back into the civilization as basically servants of God. And they're kind of like what I think the homeless were, because in India there's a whole subsection of society which you see walking around the cities too, and they're dressed in orange and stuff. They're basically the holy men or babas, and they're basically, you don't see them in America so much, except for like the Bible people here and there. But there's not a whole community of them, whereas in India there is, and in America, there is a community like that, which is the homeless, in my opinion. But because they have the same things, although they're not really serving society, not all of them are, but most of them are pretty good people from who I've met. Really good people, actually, better than city people. Kind-hearted and so forth. But yeah, so that's the 4th stage of life, where basically you're just serving society and you basically you live like Jesus, You're celibate, you have no material possessions, you depend on others for sustenance, and you just move around where you're needed. And that's the 4th phase of life, or sannyas. But celibacy is important, or brahmacharya, which is the 1st phase of life, but it's also the phase of life of studenthood, or it's also a practice according to Ayurveda. So it's one of the pillars of Ayurveda. So let's see what it says. The 3rd pillar of the body is celibacy, or sexual restraint. Celibacy means to protect the semen by keeping control over all the senses. The last dhatu, formed after the digestion of food substances we eat, is the shukra. According to Ayurveda, the strength of the body depends upon semen. So that's what I was saying here with the processing of nutrients. That's the theory, that only when you make enough blood can you make more muscle. Only when you make enough blood and muscle, then you can make more fat and so forth. So I guess how strong your semen is how strong your body is, and how good your digestion of everything is, basically. But I think it's like I was saying, it's also more subtle, than this, just the obvious what they say. The strength of the body depends upon semen. This fact is proved by the following statement. Strength of the body depends upon digestive fire, and vitality depends upon the semen. All right? Strength of the body depends upon digestive fire, and vitality depends upon the semen. Wow, that's interesting, right? It is also quoted that Maranam Bindu Patana Jivanam Bindu Dharanat, which means excessive discharge of semen may result in death, while its retention provides life. Hence, the word Bindu represents Shukra or semen. Opposite to celibacy, sexual indulgence and enjoyment results in loss of semen, corresponding to loss of strength. So this is basically the MGTOW mantra right here. Marnam Bindu Patana, Jivanam Bindu Dharanat. To retain is the binds you to life, or takes you towards life. And to Patana, I guess, could only mean release. Patan, Patra, father, I don't know. Anyway, so to release or to go towards its release is death, you know? Which is true, because many animals, after they have sex, the woman eats the man, or some crazy stuff happens, you know? I remember one time I was just chilling like this near a window, looking outside, and there was a whole colony of dogs outside. And I look what's going on. It's a sex, you know, like a man and a dog and a bitch were basically stuck to each other back to back, like they do after they have sex. And everyone was all up in. There was a big little scene, basically a social scene, like I don't know the right word for it, kind of like a big, you know, like a scene where you're like living Big Brother, right? You're living in that Big Brother house, and then something happens to one girl or between a couple, and then suddenly it's everybody's business, you know, that kind of thing. So yeah, kind of like a, I don't know, social upheaval. Some kind of social societies, some kind of individuals. Anyway, so I'm just saying that you know, the French also called the orgasm the little death, le petit morte, or something like that. So it's kind of true, because self-control, it's like basically a self-control versus blind following of your instinct. But where were we? Here the word Bindu represents Shukra or semen. Okay. Huh. Alright. Yeah, that's true. Bindu means like a point, like the bindi above on women's foreheads. Opposite to celibacy, sexual indulgence and enjoyment results in loss of semen, corresponding to loss of strength. By celibacy, one becomes full of ojas, brightness, intellect, strength, and majesty. So, physical luster, and I can personally attest to this, is also determined by how well you can control your semen. And intellect, obviously. Lust tends to have cause a lot of disastrous results that we see in the world. Then we have strength. Yeah, you do feel weak and tired after an orgasm, especially males. And majesty. Majesty, wow, okay. Yeah, do not waste your strength on women, right? From that Bible verse. Queen mother tells her prince son this, or her king son this, and tells her son, do not waste your strength on women, on, you know, chasing after women and pleasing women and so forth. And then he says not to also take intoxicants and so forth. It's not kingly to do these things. Therefore, a king, a simp and a pimp is basically the difference between a king and a slave, right? So that kind of true from the African American culture too. Pimping and simping. So be majestic and stop simping, y'all. Celibacy prevents diseases, preserves health, and promotes strength. Therefore, it is considered an essential supporting pillar. At some places, the word uncelibacy is used in place of celibacy. It concludes that even a married couple should undergo sexual intercourse within a limit, in a controlled manner, and not freely and frequently. So, there you have the clue right there. Sometimes they say uncelibacy, which means that it's about balance. It's not about one extreme. But we really have, especially in the West, people are totally lost on this issue. That's why it's such an important thing. It concludes that even a married couple should undergo sexual intercourse within a limit, in a controlled manner, and not freely and frequently. The term virya is considered as semen in males, and it relates to an ovum in females. To follow celibacy has been set for both males and females. It should be noted that to follow the rules of celibacy, one should avoid sexually stimulating drugs, pictures, photographs, diet, liquids, and lifestyle. Pious conduct and simple food support celibacy. Only one who understands the importance of celibacy can adapt themselves to such conduct. Its importance has been mentioned in our Vedas as brahmacharyena taspa, brahmacharyanatpasa deva mrityu magnata, which means by the penance of celibacy, deities have defeated death. So yeah, brahmacharya, right? Sleep is the cause of no death. And diet. And don't forget the four what was that? The 4 stages of life, right? The 4 stages of life. Brahmacharya. Forgot the second one, married life. And then the third one was vanaprastha, or forest life. And the fourth one is sannyas, or the sacrificial life of the saint, or the what is the Western equivalent, right? The priest, right? Someone who's like dedicated, like a nun, you know? Yeah, someone like a nun, right? Yeah, basically. Not even a nun, because a nun is like brahmacharya. So like Mother Teresa or Gandhi, you know, one of those kind of figures who dedicate their life to the people and not material pursuits. So anyway, that's my topic of the Trayostamba, or the 3 pillars of Ayurveda. And hopefully, thank you for listening so long. I've really taken the liberty to digress today, but hopefully you enjoyed that.